All right, buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into Okta
Oh,
and their Q4 and full fiscal year 2025 earnings.
yep.
We've got the press release right here, hot off the presses.
Hot off the presses,
And let me tell you,
let me tell you.
there's a lot to unpack here.
There is a lot to unpack.
You know how identity is becoming like the key thing in
Yes.
cybersecurity these days?
Absolutely.
Well, Okta is putting themselves right smack dab in the middle of it all.
They are front and center, no doubt about it.
Yeah, no kidding.
And they're not just talking about it either.
Right.
Their financials are telling a pretty compelling story,
Yeah.
particularly their emphasis on being the identity partner. That's a bold move,
Is it?
especially with the security landscape, shifting
There.
more towards this whole zero trust architecture.
Yeah, no, it's a big bet
It is.
Okta's making that identity is the future.
They are all in on identity.
And these numbers, I mean, they might just prove them right.
The numbers are impressive.
They pulled in $682 million in revenue.
$682 million.
For Q4,
Yeah.
that's a 13% jump year over year.
13% growth, not bad at all.
And for the entire fiscal year, a cool $2.61 billion.
billion.
A 15% increase.
That's solid growth.
Yeah, no, it's pretty remarkable.
It is.
What I find really interesting is how consistent their subscription revenue growth has been.
Absolutely.
You know, it was up 13% in Q4 and then 16% for the whole year. So it really seems like they're not just attracting new customers.
Right.
They're also really good at expanding those relationships with existing ones, getting them to sign up for more and more of their products.
Yeah, that land and expand strategy,
Exactly.
that's a classic.
Yeah.
But they seem to be executing it very well.
And it's not just growth.
Right.
It's profitable growth.
That's the key, right?
Which is huge.
It makes a big difference.
They're reporting record operating cash flow.
Yeah.
$286 million.
And free cash flow of $284 million?
In Q4.
Yeah, that's not too shabby at all.
No, it's not too shabby at all. It really puts them in a fantastic position.
It does. That kind of cash flow gives them a lot of options.
Isn't it?
They can invest heavily in research and development. They could even make some strategic acquisitions if they wanted to.
Oh, interesting.
It also allows them to be more aggressive
Okay.
in what is becoming a very competitive landscape.
So speaking of competition, how do these numbers actually stack up against,
Right.
the other folks
Yeah.
in the identity security space?
Well, that's a good question.
Are they beating the market, or is this growth pretty much what everyone's seeing?
It's a little bit of both, actually.
Okay.
Okta's certainly a leader in the space, but they're not alone.
Right.
You have big established players
Mm-hmm.
like Microsoft,
Yeah.
IBM,
Right.
who are increasingly focusing on identity.
Okay.
And then you have all these agile little startups,
Yeah.
nipping at their heels.
I feel like we're seeing that a lot.
Absolutely. It's a trend across the tech industry.
It is.
What's interesting with Okta
Yeah.
is that their growth, while strong,
Mm-hmm.
is starting to show some signs of maybe slowing down a bit, especially when you look at their projections
Right.
for fiscal year 2026.
Speaking of which,
Yeah, their guidance.
they were projecting
Uh-huh.
revenue growth of 10% year over year for Q1, and then 10% for the full fiscal year.
A bit of a deceleration,
Yeah.
but still respectable,
Mm-hmm.
especially given the,
Right.
the economic headwinds everyone's talking about.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it'll be interesting to see
It will be.
how they balance that focus on growth
Mm-hmm.
with their commitment to profitability,
Yeah, that's the balancing act.
because they're targeting a 25% non-GAAP operating margin,
25%, that's ambitious.
which suggests they are being mindful
They are.
of the bottom line,
They are.
but maintaining that balance,
Yeah.
especially as competition heats up.
That's going to be a key challenge.
It will be, no doubt.
All right, so we've got this picture of a company that's doing well,
Mm-hmm.
but there are some potential,
Clouds on the horizon.
yeah, clouds.
Potential challenge.
Yeah, potential challenges.
Absolutely.
So let's dig in a little deeper
Okay.
into their financials.
All right.
Specifically, those GAAP versus non-GAAP figures.
The age-old debate.
For those of, and I'm raising my hand here,
Me too.
who aren't,
Financial wizards.
financial wizards, can you break down what these numbers actually mean?
Yeah, I can try. For Okta.
So GAAP, or generally accepted accounting principles, that gives us the kind of official by-the-book
Yeah.
view of their financials.
Okay.
Non-GAAP metrics, on the other hand,
Okay.
offer a slightly different perspective. They often exclude certain expenses to highlight the underlying operational performance.
So it's kind of like looking at the same picture through different filters.
Precisely.
Okay.
In Okta's case, they're highlighting improvements in profitability using both GAAP and non-GAAP metrics.
Okay.
For example,
Yeah.
their GAAP operating income went from a loss of $83 million in Q4 of fiscal 2024 to a positive $8 million
Wow.
in the same quarter of 2025.
Okay.
And their non-GAAP operating margin reached a solid 25%.
So they're making, definite strides.
They are.
In profitability, which is,
good news for investors.
Yeah, it's good news.
Definitely.
But what I'm really curious about is this whole identity partner thing.
Right.
What does that even mean?
It's a good question.
Like practically.
Yeah.
And how are they translating that vision into actual, tangible results?
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay, tell me more.
So Okta is going beyond just selling software. They're positioning themselves as like strategic advisors, helping companies navigate the complexities of identity security. And this is particularly relevant now as more and more organizations are adopting zero trust frameworks.
Because in a zero trust world, identity becomes
the new perimeter.
The new perimeter.
That's exactly.
You're not just protecting the network anymore. You're verifying everyone and everything.
Every single time.
Trying to access those resources all the time.
All the time. That's the key.
Constantly.
Constant vigilance. And that's where Okta sees their opportunity. They're not just selling products.
Right.
They're selling expertise. They're saying, hey, we understand this crazy complex world of identity and zero trust, and we can help you get it right.
That's a pretty compelling pitch.
It is.
Especially when you consider how many organizations are still trying to figure out this whole zero trust thing.
Struggling.
But does this identity partner approach actually translate into, financial success?
Well, one indicator is their RPO.
RPO, what is that?
Their remaining performance obligation, which is basically their subscription backlog.
Okay.
The money they're guaranteed to receive.
Got it.
From existing contracts. And their RPO is up a whopping 25% year over year.
25%?
25%. That's huge.
That's a big jump.
It is. And their CRPO,
CRPO,
the portion they expect to recognize over the next 12 months, is also up significantly at 15%.
Okay, so that's a strong sign.
It is.
That companies are buying into Okta's vision and they're committing to, these long-term partnerships.
Long-term relationships.
It's not just a one-time, bump in sales.
It's not a flash in the pan.
Yeah.
This suggests a deeper level of engagement.
It really does.
Absolutely.
And that's what makes Okta so fascinating. Yes.
To watch.
To watch.
They're not just riding the wave of a trend.
Oh, no, they're not.
They're actively shaping
the future.
The future of cybersecurity. With the strategy that seems to be, really resonating with the market.
It's working.
Yeah.
So far, so good.
Now, this is all great news for Okta, obviously.
Of course.
But what does it mean for the average person?
That's the question, right?
Like, why should
anyone care?
You care about all of this?
Well, think about it this way.
Yeah.
Every time you log into a website, buy something online, access your bank account, your identity is at stake.
Okay.
Okta's technology is working behind the scenes to protect your information and ensure that only you can access your accounts.
So while most people may never actually interact with Okta directly,
they're kind of invisible.
Their technology is quietly safeguarding.
Silently protecting us, our digital lives.
Exactly. It's like,
unseen hand.
The unseen hand protecting us from this.
From the sea of cyber threats.
Yeah, this growing sea of cyber threats.
Growing every day.
And as the world becomes, even more reliant.
Increasingly reliant.
On digital identities. Okta's role is only going to become more critical.
Absolutely, mission critical.
Their success or lack thereof.
Right, the stakes are high.
Will have a direct impact on the security and privacy of individuals and businesses alike.
For all of us.
Okay, so we've got this really intriguing mix of strong financials, this bold strategic vision, and a technology that's increasingly central
to everything.
To our digital lives.
Yeah.
But before we get too,
carried away.
Yeah, too carried away with all the excitement.
Right. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
We need to talk about
the elephant in the room.
Yeah, the elephant in the room.
The potential risks and challenges.
Yes, absolutely.
That Okta faces.
Because every company, no matter how successful, has vulnerabilities.
Right.
And understanding those vulnerabilities is key.
Okay.
To really assessing Okta's long-term prospects.
So what are some of the things
what could go wrong?
That could derail
Yeah.
Okta's impressive, trajectory?
Well, first and foremost, there's the ever-present specter of macroeconomic uncertainty.
Oh, yeah?
We've touched on this a bit.
Yeah.
But if the economy really takes a nosedive, IT budgets, they're often the first to get slashed.
And that could,
that could hurt.
Put a damper on Okta's growth.
It could.
Even if their technology is in high demand.
Exactly. Because cybersecurity, while crucial, can sometimes be seen as a cost center rather than a direct revenue generator.
Right. So in a downturn, Okta might face some pressure.
They might.
To really prove.
To justify.
The return on investment.
Yeah, their ROI.
For their solution.
Show me the money.
Exactly. But that's just one piece of the puzzle.
One piece.
Right.
The competitive landscape. Is another significant challenge.
Okay, let's talk competition.
All right, let's do it.
You mentioned Microsoft and IBM.
Yeah, the big guys.
Earlier. How does Okta differentiate itself?
It's a good question.
From these, tech behemoths.
Yeah, the 800-pound gorillas.
Yeah, who seem to have their fingers
in every pie.
Every pie these days.
They do.
It's a bit of a David and Goliath situation, isn't it?
It is.
Microsoft and IBM, they've got the resources and this massive customer base.
Absolutely.
But Okta's advantage, it seems to be in their singular focus.
Their focus.
They've been laser focused.
Laser focused from day one.
Since day one.
Yeah.
And they've built a platform that's arguably more comprehensive.
Deeper.
And more user-friendly.
Easier to use.
Than the offerings from these larger players.
The big guys.
Yeah.
Sometimes struggle with that.
So it's about specialization.
Specialization versus generalization. Okta's betting that their depth of expertise and identity will give them an edge, even against companies with these broader portfolios.
A classic strategic choice.
It is.
It's like focus versus breadth.
But it's not just about the big guys.
Right. There's a whole wave of startups.
Oh, tell me about it.
Emerging, each with their own unique approach to identity security.
So Okta needs to
stay agile, keep innovating, anticipate the next big thing. It's a fast-moving market.
It's tough.
It is.
Yeah, but that's where their commitment to research and development comes in. Yeah. The R&D.
That healthy cash flow we talked about. It gives them the fuel.
It does. It gives them the resources.
Yeah, to invest in new technologies. Stay ahead of the curve.
Stay ahead of the curve. That's the key.
But even with the best technology, one major security breach, one slip-up,
one mistake
could really damage their reputation.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, trust is
paramount.
Everything in this cybersecurity world.
It is.
If customers lose faith in Okta's ability to protect their data, it could be really hard to regain that trust.
It could be very difficult.
So they need to be,
vigilant.
Super vigilant.
Hyper vigilant.
Hyper-vigilant.
About their own security practices.
Yeah.
Constantly testing, strengthening their defenses.
It's a high-stakes game.
High stakes, no doubt.
All right, let's shift gears for a moment.
Okay.
And talk about some of the specific technologies that are really shaping the future of identity security.
The future.
You mentioned zero trust earlier, which is,
a big buzzword.
It's a big buzzword these days.
It is.
Can you break it down for us?
What does it actually mean?
Yeah.
And how is it changing the way we think about security?
Yeah, exactly.
So zero trust is a security model that's based on the principle of never trust. Always verify. It means you don't automatically trust any user or device, even if they're inside your network.
Interesting.
Instead, you constantly verify their identity and their authorization before granting access to any resources.
So it's kind of like moving away from this idea of a secure perimeter.
The old castle walls.
Right, where everything inside is trusted.
Yeah, the moat and the drawbridge.
Yeah, and everything outside is...
That model is outdated in today's world.
It is.
With cloud computing,
Mm-hmm.
remote work,
Yeah.
the proliferation of devices.
Mm-hmm.
That traditional perimeter has become increasingly porous.
Yeah.
Zero Trust recognizes
Okay.
that threats can come from anywhere, and it focuses on verifying identities
Okay.
at every single point of access.
Interesting. So...
No more blind trust.
How does Okta fit into...
Yeah, where do they fit in?
This zero trust world?
Well, they have a number of solutions
Okay.
that support this model.
What specific technologies or solutions?
Right, let's get specific.
Yeah, they offer.
So one of the key pillars
Mm-hmm.
of Zero Trust is multi-factor authentication.
Oh, yeah, MFA.
MFA.
Everyone's talking about MFA.
Yeah, you've probably encountered this before.
Yeah.
It's when you need to provide more than just a password to log in.
Right, like a code sent to your phone.
Exactly, code to your phone.
Or a fingerprint scan.
A fingerprint, a face scan.
Yeah.
Okta offers a robust
Okay.
MFA solution that integrates with a wide range of applications and devices.
So it's not just about having
Right.
strong passwords anymore.
No, passwords alone are not enough.
It's about layering these multiple forms of authentication.
Multiple factors.
To make it much harder.
Much, much harder.
For attackers to compromise accounts.
Exactly. Raise the bar.
Yes. But Okta goes beyond.
Basic MFA.
Basic MFA is just the starting point.
Right.
They also offer solutions for single sign-on.
Oh, SSO.
SSO, which allows users to access multiple applications.
Okay.
With just one set of credentials.
Makes things a little easier.
It does. Improves the user experience.
Yeah.
And they also have identity governance and administration.
Okay.
Or IGA, which helps organizations manage user access and permissions across their entire IT ecosystem.
So they're providing this whole suite of tools.
A comprehensive suite.
To help companies really implement Zero Trust.
End-to-end.
From end to end.
As a ground up.
And they're constantly innovating. They are. They have to.
Exploring these new technologies.
New technology.
Like passwordless authentication.
Passwords, that's the holy grail.
Which eliminates the need for passwords altogether.
Imagine a world without passwords.
It's hard to imagine.
It is, but they're working on it.
And then there's risk-based authentication.
HIT-based authentication, yeah.
Which dynamically adjusts.
Dynamically.
The security measures based on, how risky it is.
Particular login attempt seems.
Exactly. So it's not a one-size-fits-all approach.
So it sounds like they're really pushing the boundaries.
They are. They're on the cutting edge.
Of what's possible in identity security.
Absolutely.
But all of this technology can also be pretty complex.
It can be. It can be very complex.
How does Okta make sure
that's the challenge
that their solutions are user-friendly?
User-friendly, easy to use.
And don't create,
more headaches.
They're headaches.
Right. Nobody wants more headaches. For IT departments.
Yeah, poor IT departments.
Yeah.
And end users.
And end users the key.
Right.
Because if security is too cumbersome, people will find ways to work around it.
Exactly.
And that can actually make things less secure.
It defeats the whole purpose.
It does. So Okta gets this.
Okay.
They've invested heavily in making their platform as intuitive and easy to use as possible.
So it's about striking that balance?
Balance between
security and usability.
Security and usability.
You want strong protection.
Yeah.
But you don't want to create so much friction that it hinders productivity or frustrates users.
Yeah. There's that old saying,
Here it is.
Security is only as strong as its weakest link.
That's so true.
If users hate the security measures,
they'll find a way around them.
They'll find a way around them.
They will?
But if it's seamless and integrated into their workflow,
integrated seamless,
you're more likely to
embrace it.
Embrace it. And that's a key differentiator, I think.
I think so too.
For Okta.
It is.
They're not just focused on
right.
the technical aspects.
The nuts and bolts.
Yeah, the nuts and bolts.
They're thinking about the human element as well. And that's what makes their identity partner approach so compelling. They're not just selling software.
Right.
They're selling peace of mind.
Peace of mind. I like that.
Peace of mind.
All right. So we've got this picture of Okta.
We do.
As a company that's financially sound.
Financially solid.
Strategically aligned.
Aligned with the future.
Yeah, with the future of cybersecurity.
Yeah.
And deeply committed
to manage innovation.
and user experience.
They get it.
But before we,
Wrap things up.
Yeah, before we wrap up, I want to circle back.
Let's circle back.
Something we touched on earlier. The potential risks.
The risks.
And challenges they face.
Yeah, the downside.
Yeah, because even with all these strengths.
Right. Nobody's perfect.
There are always factors.
There are always factors.
That could impact
Okta's trajectory.
Okta's not immune.
And it's important.
It's important for
investors.
And investors and, industry watchers.
Industry folks.
To be aware of these potential,
Headwinds,
the bumps in the road.
So let's talk about those risks.
All right, let's get into it.
We discussed the macroeconomic environment, but what are some of the other challenges?
What else could go wrong?
Yeah, that Okta needs to be prepared for.
Well, one of the biggest challenges is simply managing their growth effectively. They've acquired several companies in recent years.
They have.
Including Auth.
Auth, that was a big one.
That was a major move.
Yeah.
To expand their capabilities in customer identity and access management.
So integrating these acquisitions.
Integration is key.
Smoothly, both technologically and culturally.
Yeah.
It's crucial.
Yeah.
For their long-term success.
Yeah, because a poorly executed acquisition can create all sorts of problems.
It can be a disaster.
Clashing cultures, redundant technologies, confused customers.
Nobody wants that.
It can be, yeah.
A real mess.
A real mess.
So as Okta continues to grow, both organically and through acquisitions, they need to make sure their organizational structure and their talent pool can keep pace.
That's a challenge for a lot of companies.
It is, especially in tech.
Yeah.
Finding and retaining top talent.
Top talent.
In this crazy competitive cybersecurity market.
Yeah.
It's essential.
For their continued innovation.
Absolutely. You need the best people.
Yeah. It's like building a skyscraper.
Okay. I like that analogy.
You need a strong foundation.
Yeah.
And the right material.
The right people.
To support that ever-increasing height.
To build higher and higher.
Otherwise, the whole thing could come
crashing down.
Crashing down.
That's a good way to put it.
And that highlights another challenge, right?
What's that?
Maintaining their focus.
Focus.
Yeah.
It's so important.
As Okta expands into new markets and product lines.
Yeah. They're branching out.
They need to be careful not to spread themselves too thin.
Don't try to do too much.
Right. Stay true to their core mission.
The core mission.
Of identity security while also adapting to the evolving needs.
The customer needs.
Of their customers.
It's a balancing act.
It is. It's a delicate
dance?
Balancing act.
Yeah.
It's like they're walking this tightrope between
specialization
and diversification.
Too much specialization.
All right.
And they might miss out on emerging opportunities.
You got to be ready to pivot.
When the market changes.
But too much diversification.
Right.
And they risk diluting their expertise.
Losing focus.
And losing their competitive edge.
Exactly. It's a tough line to walk.
It's a tough line to walk, and that's why it's so fascinating to watch
I agree.
Okta's journey.
They're navigating a complex landscape, making strategic bets, trying to anticipate the future.
The future of cybersecurity.
It's a high-stakes game.
High stakes, no doubt.
With no guaranteed winners.
No guarantees in this business.
But so far, they seem to be...
So far, so good.
Playing their cards right.
They are. Yeah. They've definitely established themselves as a leader in this identity security space.
Okay.
But the real test is whether they can maintain that leadership position as the market continues to evolve and the challenges become even more complex.
And that brings us to the big question, right?
The big one.
What does the future hold? The crystal ball?
For Okta.
Nobody knows for sure.
Where do you see this company heading?
Well, if I had to guess...
Yeah, in the next 5-10 years.
Okay, 5 to 10 years out.
What are some of the trends?
Yeah, what are the trends?
And predictions?
What am I keeping an eye on?
Yeah, what are you watching?
So, one trend that I'm really excited about is the rise of artificial intelligence, AI and machine learning in identity security.
Okay.
These technologies, they have the potential to really revolutionize the way we approach security, making systems more proactive, more adaptive, more intelligent.
So instead of just reacting to threats after they've happened.
After the fact. We can start to anticipate and prevent them.
Prevent them.
Using the power of AI.
AI.
It's powerful
It's
sight.
like a crystal ball.
It is.
But a crystal ball that actually works.
Imagine a system that can analyze
Okay.
vast amounts of data in real time,
Real time.
identify unusual patterns of behavior,
Okay.
and automatically
Right.
adjust security settings.
To mitigate those potential risks.
Exactly. That's the promise of AI in identity security.
It sounds like something out of
I know, right?
a science fiction movie.
It does.
But it's becoming a reality.
It is. It's happening now.
And Okta is definitely at the forefront.
They are. They're leading the charge.
Of this movement, exploring how AI can enhance their platform.
Enhance, augment,
to provide even greater better protection for their customers. But they're also investing heavily in research and development around passwordless authentication.
Passwordless. It's coming.
As we discussed earlier, passwords are inherently
insecure. They are. They're fundamentally flawed.
And eliminating them altogether would be a major step forward.
A huge leap forward.
In cybersecurity.
Absolutely.
So Okta's working on a variety of approaches.
Different approaches.
To passwordless authentication, just using biometrics.
Biometrics, fingerprints, face scans.
Hardware tokens.
Yeah.
And other technologies to verify identities.
To verify who you are.
Without relying on
those pesky passwords. I hate passwords.
So it's not just about making passwords stronger.
No, it's about getting rid of them.
It's about eliminating them.
Entirely.
That's
the goal.
That would be
a game changer. For both security
and user experience. Imagine that.
We're remembering.
I know, right?
Dozens of complex passwords.
No more password managers.
Or dealing with the hassle of password resets.
I hate password resets.
And that's what makes Okta's vision so compelling. They're thinking big.
They are. They're not just trying to incrementally improve security.
They want to transform it.
They're aiming for a fundamental shift in the way we think about identity and access.
Identity is the future.
All right. So we've got AI, passwordless authentication.
The future is passwordless.
And this, overarching vision of a more secure and user-friendly,
easy to use
digital world.
A better digital world.
But there's another piece of the puzzle that's becoming increasingly important.
Which is?
Privacy.
Privacy.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
As we share more and more
data
online
every day,
consumers are becoming increasingly concerned.
They're right to be concerned about how that data is being used and protected.
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Yeah. It's a delicate balance, isn't it?
It is. It's a tough one.
We want companies to protect our data.
Of course.
From bad guys.
Cyber criminals.
Yeah.
But we also don't want them to exploit that data.
To use it against us.
For their own gain.
Yeah, for profit.
Or share it.
Sell it.
With third parties. Without our consent.
Without our knowledge.
Exactly.
It's a tricky situation.
And that's where Okta's
committed ethical data practices.
Responsible use of data.
Comes in.
They get it.
They're not just focused on...
They're thinking bigger.
They're also thinking about the responsible use of data.
Absolutely.
The importance of transparency and user control. So it's not just about keeping the bad guys out.
It's also about...
respecting the rights of individuals and building a digital ecosystem that's built on trust. Trust is everything.
And that's where Okta's identity partner approach.
It's a good approach.
Really shines.
It does.
They're not just selling technology. They're selling
a set of values.
A commitment to
security,
privacy,
and
ethical data practices.
And that's a message.
It's a good message.
It's resonating.
It is resonating
with a growing number of organizations.
More and more companies
who are looking for
partners
they can trust.
They need to trust their partners
in this complex
and ever-changing
digital world.
A wild world out there.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground from Okta's, impressive financial performance.
The numbers look good.
To their strategic vision for the future of identity security.
The future is bright.
But before we, dive into the final part.
The final chapter.
Yeah, the final part of our exploration. I want to pause for a moment.
Take a breath.
And reflect on the broader implications.
The bigger picture.
Yeah, the bigger picture of all this.
All right, let's zoom out.
Because while Okta is certainly a fascinating company to watch.
It is. They're doing interesting things.
Their journey is just one part.
One piece.
Of a much larger story.
The big story.
The story of how identity is becoming the new foundation.
The foundation of cybersecurity.
It's all about identity.
In our increasingly digital world.
And that's a story that impacts all of us.
Every one of us.
Whether we realize it or not.
Even if you're not aware of it.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Every time we log into a website.
Log in.
Buy something online.
Shop.
Access our bank account.
Do your banking?
Our identity is at stake.
Your identity is valuable.
And the way companies like Okta.
The identity companies.
Approach identity security.
Their approach.
Will have a direct impact.
A huge impact.
On our safety. Our privacy, and our ability to navigate this savvy digital world.
This crazy digital world.
With confidence.
Safely and securely.
So it's not just about technology.
It's bigger than that.
It's about
the future.
A digital society.
And that's what makes this conversation so important.
It's a crucial conversation.
We need to be aware.
We need to be aware.
Of the challenges. The opportunities. And the ethical implications.
The ethics are important.
Yeah.
We can't forget about the ethics.
Of this shift towards an identity-centric world.
Identity is at the center of it all.
Well said.
Thank you.
Now I'm eager to dive into
the
last part.
The last part
of our
exploration. I have a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
There's still so much more to uncover.
There's always more to learn.
About Okta's journey.
You're on a journey.
And the ever-evolving world.
It's always evolving.
Of identity security.
Identity security is the future.
All right, we're back for the home stretch of our Okta deep dive.
The final leg of the journey.
We've explored their financials, their identity partner strategy.
We did.
And even, peeked into the future of identity security.
Yeah, crystal ball is always a little fuzzy.
But before we wrap up, I'd love to get your take on the biggest takeaways, I think, for our listeners.
Okay, yeah, the key takeaways.
Like, what are the things they should really walk away from this understanding?
Well, I think the most important takeaway is that Okta is playing a long game here.
Okay.
They're not just reacting to the latest, trends and fads.
Right.
They're really trying to anticipate where the market is heading. Position themselves as the go-to solution for identity security.
Okay.
In a world that's becoming, increasingly reliant.
Yeah.
On digital identities.
It's like they're building the infrastructure for trust online.
Trust, absolutely.
Because without that solid identity layer, the whole thing,
digital economy,
digital world,
could just crumble.
It could. It could.
Yeah, think about all the things we do online.
I know, it's everything.
These days, right? Banking, shopping.
Healthcare. Even voting in some cases.
Yeah, even voting.
All of those activities rely on our ability to prove who we are. And access our account securely. And that's what Okta is providing. They're providing the foundation.
The foundation for that trust.
For trust online.
Because it's not just about protecting corporate data anymore.
No, it's much bigger than that.
It's about safeguarding.
The digital lives.
Yeah, the digital lives of individuals.
Of everyday people.
And as the lines between, our personal and professional lives.
That's all blurring together. Continue to blur. I think that distinction becomes even more important.
It does, absolutely.
And that's why, Okta's focus on user experience. Is so crucial.
It's critical.
They understand that security solutions are only effective if people
actually use them.
That's
the key.
If it's a pain.
Nobody wants to use a system that's a pain.
No one's going to use it.
They'll find a way around it.
Right, and that defeats the whole purpose.
It does. It makes things less secure.
And that's, I think, where Okta's, identity partner approach.
That partnership approach
really shines.
It's more than just selling software.
Yeah. They're not just throwing technology at the problem.
No, they're working with organizations to understand their needs, their challenges, and help them implement solutions that are both secure and user-friendly.
That balance is so important.
It is. It's a delicate balance.
So it's about collaboration.
Collaboration.
Education, building a culture of security.
Security culture.
That,
it permeates the organization.
Permeates the whole organization.
Top to bottom.
But let's face it, no matter how hard you try,
Right. There's always risk.
There are always going to be risks.
You can't eliminate risk entirely.
What are some of the things that could,
That could trip up Okta?
Yeah, trip up Okta, even with all their strengths.
Well, one of the biggest risks is simply the pace of change.
The pace of change.
In the technology world.
It's relentless.
It is.
Its cybersecurity landscape is constantly evolving.
Every day there's something new.
Yeah, with new threats emerging all the time.
All the time.
Okta needs to stay ahead of the curve.
They have to be ahead of the game.
Anticipating those threats, developing solutions before they become, major problems.
Before they become a crisis.
Yeah, it's like they're playing this high-stakes game of chess.
High stakes.
Against,
an invisible opponent.
This invisible opponent.
Who's always making new moves.
Always making new moves.
You never know what's coming next.
And then, of course, there's the competition.
Competition, yeah.
As we discussed.
It's a crowded market.
The identity security market is getting...
more crowded every day.
Crowded?
With both established players.
Right, the big guys.
And those agile startups.
Yeah, those startups are hungry.
They are. They're looking for a piece of the pie.
Vying for market share.
Market share is the name of the game.
Okta needs to constantly innovate.
Innovate or die.
And differentiate itself.
You got to stand out.
To maintain its leadership position.
It's not enough to be good.
Yeah.
You got to be great.
And as the market matures, we might see
some consolidation.
Consolidation, right.
Yeah, the big fish eat the little fish.
Larger companies acquiring smaller players.
To bulk up.
To bolster their offerings.
To fill in the gaps.
Okta could become a target for acquisition themselves.
That's always a possibility.
Or they might need to make some
strategic acquisitions.
Strategic acquisitions.
Of their own.
Of their own.
To stay competitive.
To stay in the game.
Exactly.
It's a dynamic market.
Very dynamic.
Okta needs to be prepared.
You got to be ready for anything.
To adapt and evolve.
Adapt or die.
To stay ahead of the game.
Ahead of the game.
Now, let's wrap things up with a little bit of...
crystal ball gazing.
Crystal ball gazing, yeah.
Always fun.
What are some of the trends?
What am I seeing?
You see shaping the future of identity security.
Well, one trend that I'm really excited about is the convergence of identity security with other areas of technology, like AI, of course.
Yeah, blockchain.
And
the Internet of Things.
The Internet of Things. So it's not just about managing, passwords and access controls anymore.
Right.
It's much bigger than that.
It's about integrating identity.
Into everything?
Into the fabric.
The fabric of our digital lives?
Of our digital lives.
Identity is the key.
Imagine a world...
I know, right?
...where your identity is seamlessly and securely connected.
Seamlessly and securely.
To all your devices.
All your devices.
Your online accounts.
All your accounts.
Your medical record. Your data. Your financial transactions.
Even your physical location.
Physical location.
It's all connected.
It's a bit mind-blowing, isn't it?
It is. It's amazing to think about.
To think about the possibilities.
The potential is huge.
But also a little bit
scary.
Fatty.
It is. There are risks.
Because with all that data connected to our identities, the stakes are higher than ever.
The stakes have never been higher.
Yeah, and that's why it's so important to have companies
like Okta
who are thinking about these.
Because we're thinking deeply.
Deep about the ethical implications.
The ethics are crucial.
Of these technologies.
We can't forget about the ethics.
And working to build a future.
A better future.
Where identity is used responsibly. And for the benefit.
The benefit of all.
Of all. So it's not just about the technology itself.
It's about the values.
It's about the values and principles.
So principles that guide us.
That guide its development.
How we build it.
And deployment.
How we use it.
And that's, I think, what makes Okta's journey so compelling.
They're doing important work.
They're not just building a business.
No, they're building something bigger.
They're shaping the future.
The future of trust.
Of trust.
In a digital world.
In a digital world.
It's an important mission.
It is. It is.
I applaud them for it.
Well said. Well said. And that's a perfect note, I think,
it is
to end on.
I agree.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's been a pleasure.
On this deep dive.
A deep dive indeed.
Into the world of Okta and identity security.
Fascinating stuff.
We hope you've surfaced.
Back to the surface.
With a better understanding.
A deeper understanding.
Of the challenges, the opportunities. And the incredible potential.
The potential is huge.
Of this rapidly evolving field.
It's moving fast.
Until next time, deep divers.